I think it's very easy to argue it both ways, actually. In terms of specifics, of course, you've got to have certain courses that are vocational to produce the right outturn, to provide the skills that you need in key jobs. I mean, you would not want to be treated by a surgeon who hadn't gone through the right education to become a surgeon, clearly. You would not want to be represented in court by a lawyer who'd qualified in retail marketing. So there's some things which are preeminently obvious. And I'd speak to people in engineering industries who bemoan the fact that we don't produce enough scientists and produce enough engineers. So in that regard, I can see the temptation of trying to funnel people down a particular route. The other side of the coin, and I could argue it both ways, because to some degree I had an education which was specific to business in the most general sense, but also was completely general in other ways. And when I think about what I may or may not have achieved, a lot of it is down to the more general element of it. I hated maths in school, and yet if you become responsible for businesses as I have, you spend a lot of time reviewing figures, seeing how you can improve those figures, highlighting and very forensically where the issues are within those figures. Generally speaking, most people who can add up and take away and multiply and divide will have all the qualifications they need to run a business. For me, the experience of and the power of the English language was incredibly important. When I first sat round a board table, the first time, as a little boy from Wales thinking, what am I doing? I'm running a business with 53,000 people with a 1.1 billion turnover. I'm sitting in front of a group of people who look like a bunch of hyenas as I'm sitting here. Why me? And then frankly, why not me? And what I realised was that the power of vocabulary, of language. I used to at board meetings throw in words which I knew the guys wouldn't understand, and they used to admit to me they'd go off and look it up in the dictionary. One, that gave me a certain power in terms of the meeting, but in another way it was also an education process in itself. If you throw in the odd esoteric or existential or whatever into a board meeting, guys have come up through the ranks as chefs, suddenly go off and say, we better have to just check what that is. So I've found in writing reports, in standing up in front of people trying to inspire them. Because for 17 years, my key thing was working with groups of people who worked in groups of 5 or less to deliver a product in someone else's premises. And we didn't have any real product or any real patent. All we had was the aspirations of those people. So the key thing was how you motivate people in a low-paid industry to produce something which is over and above the sum of its parts. Now you're not going to find that by vocational training. You're going to find that by being a well-rounded individual, by experience, and by the dint of your personality. So, if you talk about the great debate, what we should be doing is encouraging both. We should be encouraging the person who does zoology, and then wants a career in a service organisation which has no relation to it. But also we should be encouraging people as far as we can. We should be encouraging people through science, through maths, to take this country into places where we need to go. But the vast majority of jobs are non-specific. And for that, a really well-rounded education is still the key as far as I'm concerned.